Etobicoke Centre.
Thanks very much, Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Government and Consumer Services. Minister, I hold a monthly Seniors Advisory Group meeting in my riding of Etobicoke Centre, and when I started having those meetings, I started to hear about the issues you would expect. I heard about health care, I heard about transportation, I heard about pocketbook issues, but I also began hearing from seniors who had been the victims or knew someone who'd been the victim of a door-to-door sales scam, where salespeople use coercive, aggressive, or misleading tactics to entice people to sign contracts, to take advantage of them right at their very doorsteps, right in their very own home. It is beyond reprehensible to me that some organizations have a business model based on taking advantage of vulnerable people, and we have to take action to protect Ontarians. Minister, earlier this month I had the privilege of joining you and the member from Trinity Spadina to announce proposed changes through the Putting Consumers First Act. One of the proposed changes in the legislation is to ban unsolicited door-to-door sales of certain home appliances such as water heaters, furnaces, air conditioners, and water filters. Minister, could you inform the House how these changes will protect vulnerable consumers?
Great question.
Thank you. Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I want to say thank you to the member from Etobicoke Centre for the question, but particularly his initiative in this long-standing consumer protection issue. We've heard Ontarians' concerns regarding door-to-door sales and are now acting upon them. The proposed legislation will prohibit unsolicited door-to-door sales of some products and services, such as those the member just mentioned. Mr. Speaker, should these rules be violated, the contract would then be void. This means that consumers would no longer have to pay for the product, and if they choose, would be able to keep it as well. It's time we better protect consumers at their front door and in their homes. Mr. Speaker, our government is dedicated to providing people's hard-earned money, which is why we are moving forward with the proposed changes.
Good answer.
Supplementary.
Thank you, Minister, for providing those details. And this is really exciting news. I really thank you for your work on this important issue. You know, thousands of my constituents in Etobicoke Centre have been approached by unscrupulous door-to-door salespeople. They dupe them into contracts that are more expensive than industry standards, that have harsh cancellation fees, and that provide inferior products and services that don't work or that don't perform as advertised. I cannot tell you how many seniors I have spoken to who now have to pay money they should have never had to spend for a furnace, an air conditioner, or another product that they never even needed. While this is an issue that cuts across all ages and backgrounds, it's alarming to me to see how often they target seniors or other vulnerable consumers. It's unacceptable. The changes you described will certainly help protect Ontarians from these practices. And Minister, could you provide further detail regarding your plan to protect consumers from aggressive door-to-door sales practices?
Question. Thank you. Minister.
Thank you again to the member, and I have to say for his great advocacy on this role, and particularly for our seniors in Ontario. Mr. Speaker, if the proposed legislation is passed, my ministry will further analyze areas of consumer complaints to determine which products and services will be affected by the ban. It's also important to balance consumer protection with fairness to businesses that use good practice and operate with consumer protection law in mind. The proposed legislation will still allow customer-initiated contracts. And Mr. Speaker, consumers would be granted a 10-day cooling-off period for any contract signed in their own home. This allows people to carefully consider and be confident with any given purchase. And Mr. Speaker, our goal is to help Ontarians make informed choices in a fair and safe marketplace. Merci.
Thank you.